Hey guys, it's MMA Vulture coming at you live with UFC Fight Night, Hernandez versus Pereira, weigh-in recap, as well as my final predictions for this week's bouts. And we're going to go ahead and jump right into the first bout of the night, being Robelis Despaigne versus Austen Lane. And in this one, I am going with Robelis Despaigne. I think that his power is going to be a key factor, like I've been saying all week. Austen Lane is coming off of a knockout from Deniz and Justin Tafa, and they are both from left hooks, and I believe Robelis Despaigne can land a left hook. He's got powerful hooks, like I said, dangerous power. He's got multiple wins by first round knockout, and I think that he could land that knockout against Austen Lane, who does keep his hands a little bit low, which is why he tends to get caught. But I will say, obviously, we saw Robelis Despaigne get absolutely dismantled by Waldo in the grappling department. So I do worry about Austen Lane getting him down to the ground, but I think that even if he does, I think Robelis Despaigne will be able to fare well and snub his takedowns. It'll be hard to get Robelis Despaigne down. Austen Lane is nowhere near the grappling, doesn't have the grappling capabilities that Waldo has. I think he's definitely levels below Waldo. I think Robelis Despaigne will find the knockout on Austen Lane, and I'm going with the big boy to beat Austen Lane. And let's look at the weigh-in photos. As we see here, we got Robelis Despaigne on the scales, looking jacked, looking healthy, looking ready for war. I believe he's going to find the chin of Austen Lane. I really do. And let's look at Austen Lane on the scales. Same thing. He looks jacked. He looks ready for war. This is going to be an absolute brawl on the feet between these two, in which I think Robelis Despaigne will find that chin. And let's look at these two facing off. And, dude, these two are fucking ready for war. They're both jacked. They're both looking healthy. They're both made weight. And let's look at the odds on these two, in which we have Robelis Despaigne sitting at a negative 340 and Austen Lane sitting at a plus 265. I like the Robelis Despaigne moneyline route, as well as I like him added into parlays. I really, really like him added into parlays. I think he's a good parlay piece. I think he knocks out Austen Lane in the first round, to be honest. I feel like he's going to find that chin of Austen Lane because he leaves his hands a little bit low and ends up leaving himself to getting caught. I like the under 1.5 sitting at negative 240. I could see this going into the second round and Robelis Despaigne finding that knockout on the second round. But I'm going with the under. I think he finds it sooner rather than later on Austen Lane. I feel like he's going to blitz him a little bit more, and he could find that knockout early in the first round. Give me Robelis Despaigne to beat Austen Lane. And let's move along to the next bout, in which we have a chick fight. One of 3 chick fights on this card, in Melissa Martinez versus Alice Ardelean. And I'm going with the Melissa Martinez route, a little bit unproven because she hasn't fought in 2 years, but she's got good striking, and I don't think that she's going to lose her striking capabilities. I feel like she's going to have just as good striking as she did before. I know she definitely has a little bit of a grappling disability, I feel like, because in her fight against Elise Reed, she was getting taken down and maintained on the ground by Elise Reed, who is more of a striker, not really a grappler. So I really do hope she's been working on the grappling side of things, and that is something I'm kind of counting on. In terms of striking, I think she definitely has the striking advantage against Ardelean. I think that she's slick. She's got quick hands. She mixes up her combinations very, very well. I think that she could piece up Alice Ardelean on the feet. In terms of the grappling, I'm worried about that, and by no means do I really feel comfortable even betting this fight, to be honest, because we have an unproven Melissa Martinez. You have Ardelean, who did just come off of a Shauna Bannon split decision, but these two are neither of them are the greatest fighters, and I don't see myself betting this. I'm taking Melissa Martinez to beat Alice Ardelean. I like her on the feet. I think she's going to outstrike Alice Ardelean in terms of grappling. I think that we're going to have to see on that side of things. I think Alice Ardelean definitely will have the grappling advantage, but I don't think she's some crazy jiu-jitsu fighter. I think that she is a mediocre fighter, and Melissa Martinez hasn't been in the ring in a long time, and this is kind of a tune-up fight. I think that she's going to beat Alice Ardelean, though. And let's look at them on the scales, in which we have Alice Ardelean first. She's looking jacked. She's looking healthy. She's looking happy. She's also looking very, very lean. She's got to stay lean for that OF. But she looks good. She looks ready for war. Let's see. Then we have Melissa Martinez. She looks jacked as well. She looks ready for war. We're going to see. They both made weight as well. I do want to say that. And let's look at them facing off. And they basically are the same height. Alice Ardelean has maybe a slight height advantage. But other than that, nothing else. I'm taking Melissa Martinez. I think that she beats Alice Ardelean. I think on the feet, she is the better striker, the more technical striker over Alice Ardelean. I think that Ardelean is going to have the grappling advantage, but I think Melissa Martinez will be able to fare well in that department, and I feel like she's probably been working in that department, seeing as how vulnerable she was against Elise Reed, who isn't even a grappler. She had to have done a film and had to have been working on it, taking Alice Ardelean on this fight. And Melissa Martinez sitting at a negative 145. Alice Ardelean sitting at a plus 125. I like Melissa Martinez at negative 145. Like I said, I'm not going to personally bet on this fight. If you're going to bet on this fight, I like the Melissa Martinez, negative 145. I like this to obviously go the distance. I think this definitely goes the distance. I like the overs in this fight. In terms of knockout and submission, I wouldn't really do that. I like Martinez to win by decision as well, sitting at a negative 110 plus 130, depending on where you're betting. And that's about all. Give me Melissa Martinez to beat Alice Ardelean. And let's move along to the next bout on this card in the second chick fight out of 3 in Jessica Penne versus Elise Reed. And again, by no means am I betting on this one. I'm going with Elise Reed, who we just talked about, beat Melissa Martinez. She is mainly a striker. She looked decent in the grappling department against Melissa Martinez, but that's not really much to say. She did get submitted by Lupita Godinez in her previous fight. She looked all right. She looks good in the striking. I think that she's going to have the striking advantage over Jessica Penne, who's kind of reaching the later end of her career as a 41-year-old. I think that Elise Reed is definitely going to be quicker. She's going to have the speed advantage. She's going to have the striking advantage. She's going to be the cleaner, quicker, technical fighter here. I think that Jessica Penne, in terms of the grappling department, is going to be better with the submissions. But I think in wrestling, I think Elise Reed will actually wrestle her better and be stronger than Jessica Penne. I think Elise Reed has this, and that's who I'm going with. I think this is definitely going to go to decision. I do not see either fighter ending each other, to be honest. I think Elise Reed is kind of like mediocre, and Jessica Penne is kind of reaching the end of her career, coming off of 2 losses against Tabitha Ricci. I mean, she's a great fighter. And then Emily Ducote, who's she's not bad, but she's not great by any means. Give me Elise Reed to beat Jessica Penne. Let's look at them on the scales here, in which we have Elise Reed first. And she looks jacked. She looks healthy. She looks ready for war. And let's go ahead and look at Jessica Penne. She looks young for 41. She really does. She looks jacked. She looks healthy. She looks ready for freaking war against Elise Reed. I think that this definitely goes to the cards. And let's look at the face-off here, in which they look the same height. I feel like it's going to be a brawl between these two. It's going to be a very interesting one, to say the least, between these two. And let's look at the odds on this fight, in which we have Elise Reed sitting at a negative 180, Jessica Penne sitting at a plus 155. I like Elise Reed. Again, I'm probably not going to bet this chick fight, to be completely honest. I'm not really confident in this at all. I think Elise Reed will definitely outdog Jessica Penne, outstrike her, overwhelm her, mix in the takedowns, and get the better of Jessica Penne. I do like the over again in this fight. Over 2.5 sitting at negative 285. You could throw that in the parlay. Over 1.5 sitting at a negative 550. I like those. I really do think that this goes over to the distance, to the cards. Give me Elise Reed to beat Jessica Penne. And let's move along to the next bout, in which we have Jocelyn Edwards versus Tamires Vidal. The last chick fight, the third chick fight in a row. And I'm going with Jocelyn Edwards. And I know that might surprise a lot of you seeing after her weigh-in and everything, but I'm sticking with Jocelyn Edwards. I think Tamires Vidal sometimes gets definitely a little bit wild, and I feel like Jocelyn Edwards is just a cleaner, more technical fighter. I do worry because of how she looked on the scales, which we will see in a second, but I think in terms of striking, she's definitely going to have the striking advantage. In terms of grappling, I think that she's definitely better grappler than Tamires Vidal. Vidal has the power in her hands, has the knockout power, but she fails to put herself in positions to use it, and she just kind of swing and bangs. She likes a dirty brawl. She is a brawl type of fighter. That is just how she likes it, and I fear if Jocelyn Edwards takes it there, Tamires Vidal definitely has a chance. If she makes it a dirty fight and makes it a brawl, she definitely stands a chance. But I think Jocelyn Edwards, if she stays on the outside, strikes from the outside, makes this a clean technical fight, she's going to outstrike Tamires Vidal, pick her apart, and beat her via decision. And let's go ahead and look at these scales for these two, in which we have Tamires Vidal first. Looks good. She looks jacked. She came in on weight. Looks healthy. And then we have Jocelyn Edwards on the other side, who looks dead. Completely dead. This is her second weigh-in photo. I don't know if they have the first. They don't have the first weigh-in photo, but she looked dead in the first one as well. You could tell she looks drained. It was definitely a hard cut, and we're gonna see how that affects her this Saturday. I'm still going with Jocelyn Edwards. I'm not gonna pick flip her because I still do think that she's the cleaner, more technical fighter. And let's look at these two facing off. Intense face-off between these two. Intense face-off between these two. And let's look at the odds here, in which we have Jocelyn Edwards sitting at a negative 237, even after her looking like a zombie in that weigh-in. She's still sitting at a negative 237. She didn't go down at all. I mean, actually, she was sitting at a right around, no, yeah, negative 265. Now she's sitting at a negative 237. So she did go down a little bit. But then you have Tamires Vidal sitting at a plus 202. Out of all three of these fights, I was more confident in Jocelyn Edwards coming into this. But then now seeing the weigh-in, dude, I'm not confident in either of like any three of these girl fights. I'm personally not gonna bet on any of these three girl fights. I do like the Jocelyn Edwards route for money line. Maybe if you like her in a parlay, but again, I'm not personally gonna bet this. I really was favoring Jocelyn Edwards coming into this, but then after the weigh-in, I was like, damn. I'm still going to go with Jocelyn Edwards to beat Tamires Vidal, but by no means do I feel confident. And let's move along to the next bout, in which we have a banger, Brad Katona versus Gene Matsumoto. And I'm excited for this fight. I really am. I think Brad Katona has a lot of potential, but he's going up against somebody that just is a beast and just has that X factor that he doesn't, man. He really does. Gene Matsumoto is a great striker with quick hands. He mixes up his shots well. He has snappy leg kicks. He has great grappling to go along with his great striking. He has strong takedowns. He has tricky submissions. He maintains control of you when he gets you down. He is just a problem everywhere. And I really liked Brad Katona, seeing him in the tough, winning after his second tough appearance. Oh my god, I couldn't talk right there. But Brad Katona is going up against somebody that is just better in every aspect. Brad Katona is a great fighter, a good boxer, and a good grappler, but he's just going up against a beast in Gene Matsumoto. Brad Katona has great fight IQ as well, but it's just not going to be enough to beat Gene Matsumoto. I think that it's going to be a brawl between these two. I think it does go over in the cards. I think Gene Matsumoto just has that X factor. Like I said, he's got the power to knock you out. I think Brad Katona is a little bit more of a point fighter, and he likes to take it to the scorecards more or less. He doesn't really have that power to knock you out. Give me Gene Matsumoto to beat Brad Katona. I think it's going to be a great brawl between these two, maybe even fight of the night. And let's look at the photos of these two, in which we got Gene Matsumoto first. Looks like a savage. He does. Looks healthy, looks jacked. He looks ready for war. This is going to be a great fight between him and Brad Katona. And let's look at Brad Katona on the scales. Same thing. Looks jacked, looks lean, looks ready for war. These two are going to go at it for sure. And let's look at them facing off here. As you guys can see, both look great. This is going to be a fucking war, dude. Let's look at the fucking odds on this. I'm fucking hyped for this fight. I'm telling you, dude, this is going to be one of those fights you definitely want to tune into. Maybe even fight of the night. Like I said, Brad Katona sitting at a plus 185. Gene Matsumoto sitting at a negative 215. I like the Gene Matsumoto route. I think he definitely is going to beat Brad Katona. I think that it's going to go to the scorecards, to be completely honest. I think both fighters are tough. I think Gene Matsumoto is the better overall fighter in every aspect. So give me Gene Matsumoto to beat Brad Katona. And let's look at Gene Matsumoto via decision. Matsumoto by decision sitting at a negative 120. I like that. I see a lot of value in that. Overs sitting at a negative 165 or negative 650 for over 1.5. Negative 385 for over 2.5. I see it going to the scorecards. Like I said, Gene Matsumoto is gonna overwhelm him, pick him apart, mix in those level changes, find those takedowns, piece him from top position, and just get the win over get the win over Brad Katona via decision. Give me Gene Matsumoto to beat Brad Katona. And let's go ahead and look at the next bout on this card, in which is another great fight between Matheus Nicolau versus Austen Almabayev. And I'm going with Austen Almabayev. I think that Austen Almabayev is the better grappler. He definitely has the grappling advantage. I think something in this fight is going to happen in the sense that Almabayev is going to show us his striking skills. I really do believe that. I really feel like he's going to test his striking against Matheus Nicolau, and his striking is good. He has clean, crisp combinations. He's slick on the feet. He has great footwork. I feel like Austen Almabayev could definitely put Nicolau's lights out. Nicolau has been knocked out by Brandon Royval and Alex Perez previously, and I think Austen Almabayev could definitely test his striking here against Matheus Nicolau. I definitely see him picking apart Matheus Nicolau, mixing in those takedowns because he's definitely got the grappling advantage, but I think that we could see Almabayev test his striking skills against Matheus Nicolau. Give me Almabayev to beat Nicolau. And let's look at the weigh-in photos here, in which we have Almabayev first. He looks jacked. He looks lean. He looks ready for fucking war against this guy, Nicolau. I think Nicolau is in real trouble here. Nicolau, look at this guy. Coming off of 2 knockouts, I think he's a little bit chinny, and I think that he's going to get caught here. I think Almabayev has the striking down, man. I really do. I think he could definitely showcase his striking skills. And let's look at the face-off between these two, in which you see Almabayev is definitely shorter. But I think that he could still get this done. I really do. And let's look at the odds on these two, in which we have Almabayev sitting at a negative 205. Matheus Nicolau sitting at a plus 175. I like Almabayev. I think that he's going to be the better fighter. I think we already know he has great grappling. He's definitely going to be the better grappler out of the two. He's going to be able to maintain control of Nicolau if he has any trouble in the striking department. I think we're going to see him test his striking. I really do. I think that Almabayev could even knock out Nicolau, seeing as his chin isn't really there. Give me Almabayev to beat Nicolau. Over 1.5 is sitting at a negative 550. Over 2.5 sitting at a negative 310. They see it going to decision. I could see it going to decision, but I do see Almabayev maybe even showcasing his striking, but I'm going to go Almabayev via decision. I think that's the smarter route. I think that that's where it'll end up happening. I think Almabayev is going to show off his striking skills. I think that he's going to also use his grappling to his ability, take down Matheus Nicolau, and maintain control of him. Give me Austen Almabayev to beat Matheus Nicolau. And let's move to the next bout on this card, in Darren Elkins versus Daniel Pineda, the battle of the 40-year-olds, in which I'm going with Darren Elkins. I think he's going to be the better striker. I think that this is going to be a striking showcase. I think that it's going to be crazy on the feet work, and I think Darren Elkins is just going to outdog him, outstrike him, out-overwhelm him, maybe even mix in some takedowns, but I think Daniel Pineda is better in that sense, and it might even be a little bit stronger, but I think Darren Elkins will do more damage than Daniel Pineda. Give me Darren Elkins, the 40-year-old, to beat Daniel Pineda, the 39-year-old. This is the battle of the old days, the OGs. And let's go ahead and look at them on the scales, in which we have Daniel Pineda first, looking jacked, looking healthy, looking lean. He's got sick-ass tattoos. And let's go ahead and look at Darren Elkins, the damage. Sick tattoo in the middle with what it looks like stitches, the damage, the dragon. I'm telling you, I think Darren Elkins is going to get this done. I think he's going to beat Daniel Pineda. Daniel Pineda does look, I will say, definitely does look a little bit thicker than Darren Elkins, but I think Darren Elkins will be able to definitely maintain distance, strike from the outside, and pick apart Daniel Pineda. Give me Darren Elkins to beat Daniel Pineda. Let's look at the odds on this fight, in which it's basically a, oh, no, not a coin flip. Negative 125 for Darren Elkins, plus 105 for Daniel Pineda. I think Darren Elkins is going to be the better fighter, do more damage on the feet, mix in some takedowns, level change at certain points, catch Daniel Pineda off guard, and get the takedowns and maintain control of him. Give me Darren Elkins to do more damage on Daniel Pineda, and maybe even... Nah, I don't think he's going to knock him out. I think these are two old age fighters. I think Darren Elkins is going to beat Daniel Pineda, outstriking him from the outside, outpointing him, and winning via decision. Give me Darren Elkins the damage to beat him via decision. Over 1.5 sitting at negative 155. Over 2.5 sitting at a plus 125. I like the over 1.5 just because these are old age. I guess they're thinking that they're a lot chinnier. I think I could see Darren Elkins chinning Daniel Pineda, but I think that this goes over. I think that these two are going to battle it out. I think they're going to get a little bit tired as the rounds go on. It's going to be less active, and we're going to see Darren Elkins outdog, outstrike, and outpoint Daniel Pineda. And let's move along to the next bout in Jake Hadley versus Cameron Smotherman, in which this was supposed to be Jake Hadley versus Hiestand, but obviously complications happened. Cameron Smotherman stepped in, took over for Hiestand, and I was on the Jake Hadley route before, and I'm still on the Jake Hadley route. I thought he was going to beat Hiestand. I think that he's definitely in even better shape to beat Smotherman. I think that he's got the striking advantage and the grappling advantage. I think that he's going to out-grapple Smotherman, take him down, maintain control of him, pepper him with shots, land some nice ground and pound, some devastating elbows from top control. I think Jake Hadley is the better fighter. He's gone up against the better competition. Smotherman isn't proven yet, so we're going to have to see how he fares against somebody like Jake Hadley, who is a good fighter. I mean, Jake Hadley just is coming off of a decision win over Loran, a loss to Charles Johnson, who's fighting on this card as well, and he's an absolute dog. And then Cody Durden, who is as well a good fighter and a dog. I think Jake Hadley has this in the bag. I think that he's going to be the more skilled striker. I think he's going to be the better grappler. He's going to train wrestle if he needs to. He's going to take down Cameron Smotherman. He's going to make him uncomfortable, pressure him, outstrike him, and overwhelm him, and beat a Cameron Smotherman. And let's look at the photos here, in which we have Cameron Smotherman first. Looks jacked, looks lean, looks healthy, looks ready for war against Jake Hadley, who I think is going to outdog him and outwork him and land those takedowns when needed and beat him and maintain control of him. And let's go ahead and look at the face-offs here, in which you could see Smotherman is slightly taller, but I think that's not going to matter in this fight. I think Jake Hadley's going to pressure him. He's going to find those takedowns. He's going to mix in the level changes with his striking, and he's going to get the better of Smotherman. And let's look at the odds here, in which we have Smotherman sitting at a plus 385, Jake Hadley sitting at a negative 500. Again, I favored Hadley in the previous fight. I know it was definitely a lot closer than this. I think that Jake Hadley was still going to beat Hiestand. I think it was going to be a lot closer, obviously. But I think Jake Hadley, again, still going to get it done against Cameron Smotherman, stepping in on short notice. Even worse for him. I think Jake Hadley has faced better competition. He's going to be the better striker, the better grappler for sure. And we're going to see him get the better of Cameron Smotherman. And over 1.5 sitting at a negative 175. I like the over. I really do see that happening. I think that is great value, to be honest, at negative 175. Over 2.5 sitting at a plus 115. I'm going to be honest. I think that this still goes the distance. I think that Cameron Smotherman, yes, unproven, is still going to be a tough competitor and still give Jake Hadley a good bout. But I do think that Jake Hadley could submit him in the later rounds. I like the over 1.5. I would stick away from the over 2.5, but I like the over 1.5 sitting at negative 175. Give me Jake Hadley to beat Cameron Smotherman, and let's move to the next bout on the card. Being my lock of the night, Charles Johnson over Sumudaerji. Sumudaerji. I got Charles Johnson. Listen to me. I locked him because I believe that he has the striking advantage, and not only the striking advantage, I believe he has the grappling advantage. As of lately, he's been looking phenomenal in every aspect. In the grappling, he's had strong takedowns. He's gotten some submission attempts. He's looked good. He really has in the grappling department. Then in the striking department, he's looked very slick. His footwork has looked phenomenal. He's been in and out with ease against some of these opponents. He's looked very, very slick and very quick on the feet and explosive. I really like how Charles Johnson has looked in these past few fights. He's increasingly getting better every fight. He's improving every freaking fight. And he got a knockout over Joshua Van, who is a good prospect, who just went the rounds with Edgar Chairez. And then a win over Jake Hadley, a win over Isaac Maxim. He looked great in all these bouts. He's been put up against some great, great prospects and has been delivering in all aspects. I think Sumudaerji is a good fighter with knockout power, yes, but he fails to put himself in positions to use it the best. He really does. He doesn't have the greatest footwork. He sometimes looks awkward and clunky. Yes, he has that knockout power, but again, fails to put himself in positions to use it. I think Charles Johnson is going to have the grappling advantage as well as the striking advantage. I think Sumudaerji is definitely going to be somebody to worry about in terms of power. He could land that devastating knockout shot, but I don't see him landing it against Charles Johnson. I think Charles Johnson is very slick on the feet. I think he's going to outwork him, outstrike Sumudaerji, stay on the outside, maintain distance, and mix in some takedowns for sure, because I think he definitely has a grappling advantage, and maintain control of him, land some devastating ground and pound, and he could end up getting Sumudaerji out of there. He really could. Give me Charles Johnson to beat Sumudaerji, and let's look at them on the scales, in which we have Sumudaerji first. Looks jacked, looks healthy, looks lean, very, very lean. And then we got Charles Johnson. Definitely looks a little bit more filled out, looks jacked, looks lean. He looks happy, looks ready to go to war against Sumudaerji. And let's look at these two facing off, in which you can see Sumudaerji has a slight height advantage as well as a slight reach advantage. I think Sumudaerji definitely looks a little bit skinnier, and Charles Johnson looks a little bit more filled out. Again, that doesn't really mean a lot in the fighting business, but I think Charles Johnson is going to outstrike him, outdog him, pick him apart, overwhelm him, mix in those takedowns, and beat a Sumudaerji, who I think only has a puncher's chance, to be completely honest. And let's look at the odds on this, in which Sumudaerji sitting at a plus 195, Charles Johnson sitting at a negative 230. I like Charles Johnson money line or even parlay route. I like him either way. He's my lock. I really feel confident in him. I think Sumudaerji literally only has a puncher's chance. That's just my honest opinion. And I like Charles Johnson sitting at negative 230, over 1.5 sitting at a negative 400, over 2.5 sitting at a negative 220. I like the over 1.5 sitting at negative 400. I think Charles Johnson is going to win via decision, but I think that there is room for him to end it early, but I'm going Charles Johnson via decision. And that is sitting right around, let's see, plus 130. I like that. Plus 130, Charles Johnson via decision. I think Johnson definitely beats Sumudaerji. Give me Charles Johnson to beat Sumudaerji. And let's move along to the co-main event in Rob Font versus Kyler Phillips. And like I said before, I'm going Kyler Phillips. I mean, in every aspect, he's better than Rob Font. In the striking aspect, he's more dangerous. He's got the knockout power. So does Rob Font. I'm not saying he doesn't have the knockout power, but I think he's going to have the speed advantage on the feet. He's going to be the quicker, speedier fighter, the more explosive fighter here. Not only that, in the grappling department, he's going to have the obvious grappling advantage. He's going to be able to maintain control of Rob Font if he gets him down. He has strong takedowns. He has sneaky submissions. And you just do not want to be under Kyler Phillips. You do not. He's got nasty ground and pound to go along with his great grappling and great striking. Kyler Phillips is just an all-around fucking beast, dude. And there's nothing to take away from Rob Font because he's a great fighter with knockout power. He's got good striking, mixes up his shots well. He has decent grappling. He's got good takedown defense. He's a good fighter. But Kyler Phillips is just next up. Rob Font is kind of on the later end of his career. Kyler Phillips is up and coming. He's got everybody backing him. He's climbing the ranks relatively fast. I think Kyler Phillips is next up, and I think he's got great striking, great grappling, and I think that he beats Rob Font via decision. I think this is going to be a great back-and-forth battle between these two. Give me Kyler Phillips to beat Rob Font. And let's look at them on the scales, in which we have Kyler Phillips first. He looks good. He looks jacked. He looks lean. He looks ready for war. I can't wait for this fight between him and what's it called? Rob Font. Oh my gosh. And not, as you guys see, Rob Font looks healthy. He looks jacked. He looks ready for war as well. This is going to be a banger co-main event. It really is. And let's look at them facing off, in which you can see Rob Font has a very, very slight height advantage. Very slight, if at all. And then Rob Font looks slightly thicker, but I think Kyler Phillips is just a beast and is the overall better fighter in every aspect. I think that Rob Font has something coming for him. I think he does. And let's look at the odds here, in which we have Kyler Phillips sitting at a -500. Rob Font sitting at a +375. Kyler Phillips is looking like a great parlay addition. I really do feel like he's going to beat Rob Font. Definitely be careful. Rob Font does have that knockout power. He is nobody to sleep on. He's not a bum, like I said previously. He is a great fighter. It's just he's going up against somebody who is a better fighter in all aspects than Kyler Phillips. And over 1.5 sitting at a -425. Over 2.5 sitting at a -225. I like the overs in this fight. I think that this definitely is going to be a back and forth brawl between these two. I think that Kyler Phillips mixes in some takedowns along with his striking, and this goes the distance. And let's move to the main event of the evening. And if you guys haven't, don't forget to like and subscribe. And let's hop into the main event in Michael Pereira versus Anthony Hernandez. And I'm going with Michel Pereira. I think that he's the better overall fighter in every aspect. I think Anthony Hernandez has a slight edge over him in the grappling department, so not overall better. But I think that Michel Pereira is definitely more dangerous on the feet. He definitely has the striking advantage. He mixes in some crazy, crazy combinations. And I think that he's just going to get the better of Anthony Hernandez. Anthony Hernandez is a threat in the grappling department. I think that Anthony Hernandez has sneaky submissions, has strong takedowns, but I think he's going to have problems getting Michel Pereira down. I really do. I think Pereira is a great jiu-jitsu artist, a great grappler. I think that he's going to be able to snub Anthony Hernandez's takedowns. I think that Anthony Hernandez, if he keeps going at the takedowns continuously, he might eventually be able to get Michel Pereira down, but I don't think he's going to be able to get him down off the bat. I think Michel Pereira is going to be the more explosive fighter for sure. Going to have the striking advantage and going to be the cleaner fighter on the feet and find that knockout shot. I really believe Michel Pereira is going to find that knockout shot on Anthony Hernandez. I think that Anthony Hernandez sometimes telegraphs his takedowns. Michel Pereira has nasty knees and is known to use them. He could catch Anthony Hernandez as he's coming in and find that nasty knee. He has nasty elbows. He could clinch him up against the fence and land some devastating elbows. I think Michel Pereira's one of his keys to winning this fight is mixing in those body shots. I think those Body shots are definitely going to be a key factor in beating Anthony Hernandez. Tenderize that midsection of Anthony Hernandez and just land those devastating overhands on Anthony Hernandez. And I think he's going to find that knockout shot on Anthony Hernandez. Give me Michel Pieta to beat Anthony Fluffy Hernandez. And let's look at the photos, the weigh-in photos. And Michel Pieta looking jacked, looking healthy, smiling on the scales. I'm telling you, this guy is an absolute fucking beast. I am actually in shock that he is plus money. And it's insane. And let's look at Anthony Fluffy Hernandez. Looks jacked. He's got some sick-ass tattoos, but he is going to get beat this Saturday. I think that Pieta is the more explosive, more dangerous fighter on the feet, and in the grappling department, he's going to fare well against Anthony Hernandez. And let's look at the face-offs. As you can see, intense face-off between these two. I think Michel Pieta is definitely going to find that knockout on Anthony Fluffy Hernandez. I think he's going to find that chin. And let's look at the odds on this fight, in which we have Michel Pieta sitting at a plus 118, Anthony Hernandez sitting at a negative 138. I don't understand why he's plus money, but I am taking this all day long. Give me Michel Pieta to beat Anthony Hernandez at plus money. You could throw him in a parlay to even add plus money. I like that route. Money line, parlay, either or. I think he beats I think he beats Anthony Hernandez. He's going to tenderize that midsection, work him, pick him apart, outstrike him, overwhelm him, and find that knockout shot. I'm telling you, he's going to tenderize that midsection and eventually find that knockout shot on Anthony Hernandez. Over 1.5 sitting at negative 175. Over 2.5 sitting at a plus 125. I like the over 1.5, but under 2.5. I think that Michel Pieta is dangerous, man. I think that it's over 1.5 is risky, but yeah, I think it's risky. I think Michel Pieta is going to find that knockout shot on Anthony Hernandez. I think he's more explosive, more dangerous on the feet. I think that if he tenderizes that midsection, Anthony Hernandez is going to be in real trouble, and he's going to find that knockout shot. Give me Michel Pieta to knock out Anthony Hernandez. And let's look at the odds on that. Michel Pieta by knockout sitting at a plus 180. I like that route. I love the value in that at plus 180. You're getting a lot of value. Give me Michel Pieta to beat Anthony Hernandez. I think he tenderizes that midsection, finds that knockout shot, and beats Anthony Fluffy Hernandez. If you guys haven't, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.